Alright, hey, this is Ryan with Oak Harbor Web Designs, and today we got a fun one here. So me and my designer Kyle, we worked together on this one. It's a property management company. So we've got something pretty sexy here, and we're going to learn how to build this from scratch in just HTML and CSS. No need for frameworks or Tailwind or Bootstrap. We can do this without them, and we can save some load times without having CDNs or any extra code or bloated nonsense. And let's get to it. So we got here my starter kit, and right away, we see that it's too long. So if you don't know this already, on Windows it's Alt Z. And it just jumps everything to the next line, makes it a lot easier to view. Let's get some more space here. So this is my starter kit, and this is what it looks like. So it already has the mobile navigation done. It has dark mode enabled. It's got a footer, landing section. So it's just my starter. Why redo things over and over again? If I already have a good responsive navigation, I'm not going to do it again. So number one, we're going to be starting mobile first. So that's why I have this open. We'll start with our small screens at 320, which is the iPhone 5 SE, so 320 pixels wide. And in all of my my code, I use these section tags. So let's just add a few. So this is going to be every section of the website. That's where everything will live. So this will be a section, 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 going from left to right. It's just grouping all of the sections of your website together in a way that they're meaningful. So the content has to be related. So it's basically siphoning off your code and telling Google, like, hey, everything in here, they're all related, and they're separate from all the other sections here. So don't try to parse this website and think that this section also means this stuff. Like, no. This helps Google understand what your content means and not just what it is. So it helps context. So that's what we're going to be doing every section, and it keeps it clean. And I like to have these little comments to make it easier to go up and down in your code, just to see where things are. So let's start with the landing page. And what's special about this one is Kyle actually gave me a mobile. So he had a very specific vision for this one. So that's what we're going to do. So we got our desktop and our mobile, which you're not often going to get because it takes time. So we're going to be doing this first, but we have to structure HTML in a way so that when we do start with the mobile, it'll be easier to move to desktop. So let's get rid of all this, since none of this is going to look like what my my starter code is. So first of all, we got this text. So I think I need to have a container. Excuse me, sorry, I've been talking way too much this last couple weeks or days. Feels like weeks. So I want, because we have to put it in a container for it to kind of brush up against. So we'll have to start off with a container. And we're going to have our H1 here. And you'll notice, so it goes on 3 separate lines. Oops. Missing font. Oh, that's right, he used special fonts. So I don't think I have Nova. But I'm going to copy this, paste it. And what I want to do, because I want them to break at these points, so what I'm going to do is property management, let's see, made simple. I'm going to wrap this in a span, and I'm going to remain, and we forgot and. And then hassle-free is going to be in a span with the period. So copy span. There it goes. So that I can set the H1 span to be display block, and they all jump on their own line. So I can control how they're displayed, because it looks like that's kind of what we're going for over here. So property management, made simple, and hassle-free. Well, that'll be tough because well, no, because then I'll set them back to display inline block, and then hopefully just the size of the H1 will make them jump to their respective lines. So yeah, I'm gonna keep it that way. And so we got this little card section here. So right away, I know I have a number of elements that need to be placed together. So that is going to be another container. So inside this main container that's going to have all of our content, right? I'm going to have another little container for these guys. So let's do dot, I don't know, stats. Let's make a stats container, and we got to have, let's see, a number and a, how do I want them? So, you know, we don't want to make these H's or H2s because they're not really headings. So we're just going to do a span number class. So it's a span of the class of number, and that is going to be our number, and then growing cities, assets under management. So I don't think these need to be headings either because they're not saying anything. Like a heading would be like this, you know, taking care of things so you don't have to. That's a heading. I think these are more just statements, so we're going to make them into spans. So let's do another span. Actually, I could just pop this over here, and then another span dot. Let's just do text. So we got our stats there. So I'm not gonna put anything in here yet because I just want to copy and paste them. So 1, 2, 3. Because instead of having to delete, if I put them in there beforehand, I'd have to delete them just to put the new things in there. I don't want to do that. So let's see, 3, 20 plus. Where's my plus? There it is. And 100 plus. And 98%. And then again, I'm gonna do spans for these guys on the inside. So it's a span within a span. So let's just kick off in the front. Span cities plus. So the texts, I'm gonna target it by text span. I'll make them display block so that they jump to their respective lines. So that's in there, and then growing. And then in this one, it's going to be assets under. Oh, why did I do that? Sorry, habit. I always like to have things. Let's see. Oh, that's right. For the span. There, that goes there, and then management. And then we open this up, add another span. Properties, go outside, managed, and these are all probably going to change. I don't know how accurate these numbers are. I don't remember the last time we went over it. Span, you want occupancy, and then rate. So that should do it for those guys. Because we also, looks like we got so we got this white slanted box. We're going to make that into a pseudo element. So, you know, the goal is to use as few divs as possible, as few HTML elements as possible. So, you know, wherever I got the chance, if I could use a pseudo element, I'll use it. So that'll be a great pseudo element to add to the stats or even the container. We'll decide when I get to the CSS how I want to do it. So that section is done. Let's see if we go to mobile. Yeah, that should be pretty easy to do. Now this one, this should be fun. Let's see. Why, I don't know why we do this to ourselves. So management. We'll just call this because we got 112 million in assets under management. So let's just call this management. And this is gonna be our management section. Okay, so we got this text that needs to live. So it needs to have something to brush up against. We got this big guy here. And then we got this. So how do we want to structure this? Let's take a look on mobile. So it looks like on mobile, they're just gonna stack. So right away, I know that. Okay, we can do. So this text right here, and then this big text, they can go in their own container, and then this can go in its own container. But this has to be gigantic. So I was just trying to plan this one out. This is a nice little puzzle. How to make this happen as easy as possible. So I think I just got to do one container to contain everybody. This will be absolutely positioned, and then this will have this will probably have a margin top, because they'll be in the same line, right? They'll just be different widths, inline blocks, and this will be pushed down with a certain width, and this background will be a pseudo element. Because why create another container to go around it? It's just more code than you need. So right away, let's just start with the big one, the big container. So let's get this text. Copy. This is going to be which heading do I want to use? I think I'm going to use an H2. H2. Okay. So again, I want to make sure I have this layout button. Let's see, in mobile. Over, right. Yeah, so it looks like they're just going to be separate lines anyway. So we got over. So let's wrap this in a span. And let's wrap this in a span. And we're going to target these spans individually. We're going to set them to display blocks so we can jump them on lines. And I'm going to target the nth of type 2 span. So this one of the H2. And I'm going to make this one bold. And so now we just got this guy. I'm going to copy you. And we're going to do a P. And looks like we got short-term, long-term executive rentals. Short-term, long-term, short-term executive rentals. So it looks like we want this to be bold. So we're going to copy and we're going to strong it. And there. So strong is just an HTML way of bolding something. So we're just going to do that there. So I got these two together in their little container. So if I do that, because we got this here, right? So if these are going to be in this container, this H2 and this P, looking at mobile, the 112 is in the middle, so technically it should be right here. But in desktop, it is not. It is to the left, but I don't think. I don't think it's going to matter because in desktop it's going to be position absolute. So we're going to place this wherever the heck we feel like it and feel like gods for doing it. But over here, you know, I think I could just put it here. We're going to do span class of big number, right? And that's going to be 1, 1, 2, n. So we're going to put that there. And I think what we're going to do is we got this. I don't want to set the whole background of the container or the section. Normally, what we do when we do go to desktop, we're going to set this entire section here. We're going to set its background to be this overlay picture. But on mobile, we can't because technically the whole section is this blue part plus this part, right? Like that's the whole section. So it would actually be all the way down here, which we don't want. So I guess pseudo element. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna do pseudo element on the section. So management will have a before on it, and that will be the image, okay? And then I'll have an after that will be the overlay that will go on top of the image, and then I'll set that to be however high this needs to be. And then on desktop, I will just set those to display none, ignore those, and then set the entire section background to be this. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. It's another interesting, weird, creative way to use a pseudo element to create a background. Not too often done, but in this case, just the way this is structured, because this is the entire section, I don't want it to be the entire background. So I'm just going to make a pseudo element create this background and this height, and that'll be that. So that, I think that is done. And now we're on to this section. So it should be pretty easy, pretty standard. So this is going to be, what do we want to call it? Let's just call it graph, just because that's what the picture is. I mean, I'm sure that picture is going to change, but I don't care. Let's see, graph. That's just how that's just how I see it, and that's how I'm always going to see it. So obviously, you know, we're going to be stacking, so it stacks from left to right and top to bottom in code. So here, obviously we need a container, so you can see the container here. So that's number 1 to start. And then we got our image. Let's see. Graph. Oh, I gotta do assets. Images. Come on, right? Images / graph. So this isn't really, I mean, it's just a graphic. It's not adding anything of value or context to the site. So the screen readers don't really need to know what this is. And that's what we're going to do in Aria hidden equals true, because we want it to hide it from screen readers. And that's what this Aria attribute is. Basically, are we hiding it? True. Yeah, we're totally hiding it. We don't want you to see this. Ignore this. Forget it. So we don't need to do an alt tag because it's hidden anyway. It's not going to read it. And because it is below the fold now, below the fold meaning what is below your screen. So when you load a website, the bottommost part of your screen, that's where the fold is. And then after that is called after the fold. So since we're after the fold now, we're going to lazy load these with a loading equals lazy attribute. That I think Google and Firefox has this. I don't think Safari has this because they're constantly behind the game on things. So, But Google Chrome, this will help your page speeds, and that's what's really important right now is those page speed insights. So all of your images now that are below the fold, I highly recommend adding loading lazy so that they load after the website is done loading. That will significantly improve your load times. So now we got that. Now we need to do our little content section, and we got this text. Close. I just want to copy it. Give it to me. So this is going to be an H2. There we go. I don't like how that looks. H2. So I should note that every section starts a new heading hierarchy. So you have H2 here. That doesn't mean you start with an H3 here. The headings usually start H2, H3, H4, blah, 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 etc. So this is obviously an H2, and then this will be a P. But if I had another heading in this section, it would be an H3. And then I start over again when I go to services, like this next one. So this will be its own H2. So that's what I'm doing. So we got right up here, so our graph. Here's our text for our P's. And we got our button. And I think my class is button solid. That's the class in my build kit for all my buttons. Basically my own framework. Frequently asked questions. And you'll notice that in the Figma, it's capitalized, but in the code, it's not, because it's so much easier to go through and capitalize and uncapitalize things in CSS than it is to have to do it for all of your HTML. So if you ever have to do any text transforms like that, always just do it in your CSS. Don't do it in the code. I'm saying the actual HTML code. Don't do that. Just no. So now we're basically going to have this same section, except it's going to be reversed. So what I actually want to do, is I want the styles. The styles are going to be the exact same. They're just going to be flipped. So I actually want to add a class of, let's do swap. I don't know, just so I could swap between them, right? And what will end up happening here is I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste this, oops, right here. So that when I actually do this section, I'm gonna use the swap class instead of the ID, so that this also gets the same exact styles, so that I'm not having to redo it twice. And then this is going to be city, obviously just because of the city. And they'll have their own IDs, so I can target them individually, because I'm going to have to do something with this big guy right here. And I think I'm going to add it to the city part. So yeah, I think it'll be easier to add to the city since it's already it's in proximity to it on mobile. So I'll just add it to the city here, and I'll just have it overlap going up here. So that's gonna be that. Except let's see. Yeah, because I want our images to be on the top of their little sections. But you'll notice that this section here, if we wanted it to look like this would have to be above the H2, right? So that it can stack to be left and right. But we don't need to worry about that because we have Flexbox, and we can use the order property to change the order of our flex items, and we can just flip, flop, and swap. So we're just going to leave this as is, and these two sections are done because I'm adding this image as a pseudo element because I don't need to. Why muck up my my HTML? Or because it's an image, it's a big one. Maybe I do want to add it in because I want it to lazy load. I don't want it. I don't know if there's a way to lazy load CSS because this is if it's a pseudo element, it's basically built in CSS, so you can't lazy load that. So I think I'm just gonna add it in. That's what I gotta do. Image dot tower. slash images slash, what are you called? I think big gray logo watermark. And it's an Aria hidden equals true, because it doesn't mean anything to a screen reader. And then loading equals lazy. So that was my thought process there. Normally I would have put it in a pseudo element, but because it looks like a fairly large graphic, and we're all about optimizing our mobile speeds and our page speeds, I added it in as an HTML element so that I can add a lazy loading attribute. So, and let's see, I think that's it for that section. So now we're going to this. And so this will just be its own section of cards. Let's just add a couple more sections. So this will be cards. Cards. And again, maybe we don't need a container, actually. But you know what? I'm just going to do it. Yeah, I'm just going to do a container. And then, so we got, so we got this thing where you press this button and it zooms up, or you hover it and it zooms up. And it looks like they're already open on mobile. So this is one thing. So I guess, because the one thing is a lot of times I don't like to have these hover to get more information stuff. So I think I'm gonna have to go back and forth with Kyle on this, but I'm gonna build it looking like this, because I don't like these hover to find more information stuff. So we can just build it like this as is. Obviously, we're going to make our section, and we're going to have it, we're going to make this little gray box as a pseudo element on the card section, and that's how that's going to be done. So let's just go into here. So how do I want to do this image? Do I want to hard code it, or do I want to add it as a background? And it looks like, because if I add it in, I can just do the object fit property, and then I can lazy load it. So, because normally, I mean, before this whole Google PageSpeed thing, I would just, I would just, first thought, okay, pump these into a background element. Like, we'll make this a background image. But now with this PageSpeed stuff, I want to load as few images as possible. So I actually might have to put these images in the HTML now so that I can lazy load them. So let's just start with our card. Okay. So we know we're going to need an image tag. Yeah, let's see. Call out 1, 2, and 3. Okay. So slash images, call out 1, and obviously Aria hidden equals true, since we don't need to tell the screen reader what it is. Loading equals lazy, so we can lazy load this thing. And yeah, I think I'm just going to have them relatively positioned, honestly. So I guess we'll start with this section here. We're going to do content. We're going to wrap this in a div, because these need to be grouped together so that they can bounce off of this, and I can create this background. So that's what I'm going to do, because we have more than one element. If this was just one element, I wouldn't be doing it, but we have two of them, so I'm going to group them together. H2, short-term rentals, P. Okay, so now we got our card. That's 1, 2 and 3. Long term and executive. Copy, paste. Oh, it looks like it's all just the same. Yeah, it looks like it's just the same text for now. This thing, what do you want me to do with this? Because, I mean, is this button, is this to go to this to that page? That's what I'm assuming. So, do I have that saved somewhere? No. So what I want to do is, I think I'm going to grab an SVG. Unless this is already an SVG. What are you? Okay, this group. Okay, it looks like it's just a plus, it's just a T. Okay, so maybe that's what that will be. So we're going to make this a link, A, and we're just going to do a plus. Why do an SVG when we could just do a text? I think that's what we're going to do. And yeah, I think that's it for that. So let's copy and paste this. And we're just going to style that to look like that. And if you ever wonder when to use a button tag or an A tag, a button does something. Like when you click it, it doesn't take you to another page. It does something. Like, I don't know, it calculates something, or it pops something up. That's when you use a button. An A tag you use to link to different parts of your website. So it takes you places. So yeah, think of this as like an A tag is the car, right? And it takes you places, but the button tag, that is the that's the radio, right? You push those buttons to make it turn on the stations or go to your different presets. Those are buttons, you know, they're doing something while your A tag is taking you places. Hopefully that made sense and that wasn't stupid. So now we got our logos. So see our partners. Pretty standard stuff here. So we're going to do logos of the different companies they work with. Logos. And obviously we need a container for these. It's going to be a flex container. And let's do, I don't think we need to, I'm just going to put them in links anyway in case they want me to link to their websites. So for now, do I have any like logo placeholders? I'll just use mine. I'll just use Harper Web Design logo. So image, logo. There, logo. And then we'll save the alt tag. I'm not going to do anything in there yet. Because I'm just going to build this right now. And I'll find out. Oh, excuse me. Oh, late night last night. Working. So if they want this to link, I'm going to leave it. But if they don't want it to link anywhere, I'm going to remove these A tags. And I'm just going to leave the images and then have an alt tag. Right? And I'll just put the image information there. But if they want it to stay with an A tag, then I'm going to hide this with Aria hidden, and I'm going to add an Aria label to tell the screen reader that this link is linking to this company's website. So an Aria label will basically ignore everything inside of it, and it will just say what I put in the quotes. So we'll get to that, but let's do what do we got? 8 of these? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then we got our big partners here. So let's put this outside the container. H2 partners. Wonderful. And we're just going to absolutely position this. Patterns, what? Partners. We're just going to absolutely position this and make this wide. And yeah, that's what we're going to do. So, and now this guy, this is going to be interesting. So it looks like, this looks like we're just stacking. That shouldn't be too bad. And then, so this obviously has to be in the left. So, I'm just trying to imagine how I want this to happen. Obviously, so this is going to be, we're going to call this content group. I don't know what to call it. So content group. It's just a group of content. So number one, let's just get this going for now before we decide what to do with the other one. So obviously we need we need a container, and then we need an item of that container. And inside of this, we're gonna have, I'm gonna make these my H2s. I'm gonna start with my H2s. So H2, right? And then we're gonna have a P. And it looks like all the P's are different. And that's it for that. So then we're gonna copy this 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Total 6. Nice, let's just copy this stuff in. Oops, this one. So, yeah, oh, sorry you gotta sit here and wait for me to do some of this mundane, boring stuff, but, I mean, this is part of the job. You're watching it, all the ugly stuff. Come here. And I think that's one of the differences about what I do when I do these videos, is they're not just quick, you know, pre-done tutorials that I know what the code looks like and I have everything ready to go and make things nice and quick. No, I'm just kind of, you know, flying at the seat of my pants over here, just kind of winging it as I work, because that's how you're gonna work. I mean, you're not gonna have all the answers all the time. So you just got to jump in there and see what happens. So it looks like, I think he forgot the button here in the design, unless this is done on purpose. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this button outside the container. Because this is going to be a flex container, and I don't want the flex to, I don't want to have to mess with this inside the flex. So I'm just going to position this outside the flex. Or is that going to be, no, it shouldn't be an issue. Because then this is obviously centered. So it can just sit and be display block, margin auto, and it'll be centered, and I just margin top and bottom to get this where I want it. And now we got this guy. What do we do with you? So, again, normally I would just do this as a background image, like real fast, easy, right? To a div, and I just make this div whatever size I want. But now we got this gosh darn page insights. So we're gonna go up here. Obviously, it has to be at the top so that it can be left positioned. So it's got to be a div. So it's got to be an image. Let's do image group. Okay. We're going to have our image, and it's going to be sunset. And this entire group is purely decorative. It has no inherent meaning. So on the entire div, we're going to do aria hidden equals true. And when you do that, everything inside of the div will also be hidden. So we don't have to do anything with this. However, loading equals lazy. If I can spell it right, there we go. Loading lazy. So we're gonna lazy load this because I want this website to run instantly, and part of that is lazy loading your images. So, and there's really, I don't know of a way to do it in CSS yet. Unless there is a way, please let me know. Clearly, I'm not smart enough to know yet. But this is the easiest way I found to do it now, adjusting for Google's page speed, insights, and core vitals, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, we're gonna have this image. It's called object fit on the image, and we're just gonna make it like cover the entire div. That's what that object fit does. It'll crop itself to fill the whole div, basically, which is what the background CSS property does. But instead, we're doing it with something that's in code in HTML. So these bad boys, pseudos. Yeah, why do we need to dirty up our HTML when we can just do pseudo elements? So this, obviously, this got to be a before. This will be an after. Absolutely positioned on the corner of this div. One done. All right, so now we got this one. Okay, so we got this, right? This little this triangle, and I already know. So there's two methods, three that I can think of to do this, right? Number one, for all you beginners out there that don't know anything else that's too crazy, we can make a pseudo element, and we can make it, I don't know, yay tall and super wide, and rotate it, and do one here and one here, and rotate them in the opposite directions to create an X, right? Just a big old X, and that's how you do that at the top. But I don't think, because you also have to do it at the bottom, so I don't think we need to do that. And what I'll end up doing is, it's called a clip path. So I'll be making a clip path in here, and that's how I'll do that. So, because we also have this orange one down here. So how do I want to? I could just add the clip path in a pseudo, but then I got this like orange border on this pseudo. Let's see what it looks like over here. Do I have an orange border? Yeah, I still have an orange border. So I think what I'm going to do to minimize the amount of divs that I have to use, I'm going to add these clip paths into the pseudo elements, and then I'll figure out if I can do a border on the bottom one and see if that works on the clip path. And if that does not work, then I'm just going to have to add a div in here with a clip path for that orange, and shove it up until it looks like it's a border, So let's just save those for now for pseudos. And it looks like we just got a pretty standard, put these together in a box, put these together in a box. So I think this entire thing can be, what do I want? How do I want this to be? Because I would normally just make this entire blue thing as its own section. But I think I'm going to make these two their own section together, because this is already complicated enough. So let's just make another one. Oops. All right, so this is going to be get started. Get started. So right away, I'm going to need a container for these guys. So I'm just going to do top group, and we're going to do an H2. How to get started. And then I think inside, I'm trying to stay away from the divs, but I think I have to, inside this div, I have to do a group of 3. So, yeah, because these have to play together. So, let's just do steps. And then, step. Hopefully that's not too confusing for you guys. Steps and step. You know, these are the steps, and these are the step, like the singular. So, right away I can tell you, number 1, I will add this chevron and this dash as a pseudo element, so that I don't have to add them in HTML and mess things up. So step 1. Oops. No, I want to do span. Step 1. And we're going to call this step header. Okay. And then, I mean, these are not quite paragraphs, right? But this one turns into a paragraph. It's got some pretty good text there. So I think I'm just going to make them P's anyway. However, even though they're very short, I'm just going to keep them as P's. You usually want to use your P tags for like actual paragraphs. So we got that, and then 1 and 2. Set 2, set 3. Copy this. Get rid of that space. Copy this. And I like to have my P's like this. Like I like to have my P's. If it's a long text thing, it just looks nicer when it's like in the middle of them like this, and it's just easier to read, I think. So then we got these guys, and then we got our testimonial boxes. So again, so we got our steps box, and then we got our actually, I don't need a top group. I'm just going to make this in one container, because I was going to do multiple containers. But actually, if I just make one big container to contain everybody, right? And then, whoops. And then these guys have their own container, and then these guys have their own container. So I think that, yeah, because we got our steps container, and now let's do our reviews container. Dot review. So we got our, obviously, a p text. Copy and paste this. And then we got our span. It's our John Doe. And we're going to call this name. I always like to name my spans. So these are the exact same for now until we get actual ones. So we just copy and paste. And in this image, all these vectors. Okay, so this looks like a custom graphic made by the designer. So I'm going to export this as an SVG. Export group 7. Save as. I don't want to go there. I want to go to Marketplace. And let's see. Oh, do we already have it? Is it the stripes? Oh, we're just going to do big gray stripes, just in case I didn't do it. So I'm gonna make this as a again, I was gonna do it as a pseudo element, but I want to lazy load it. So it's the battle between wanting to clean up my HTML and not have too much stuff in it, and shoving them all in pseudos, or putting them in HTML so that I can lazy load them and save load time. And I think that's what I got to do. I got to put it in there. So in my section here, I'm just going to put this image dot stripes. Big gray stripes. Loading equals lazy. Aria hidden equals true. So that's going to be that guy. And then here's our next and final section before we hit the footer. Again, this is going to be a clip path that I'm going to make. And then all we got is this image. So let's do, this is going to be a CTA, call to action. This is our big call to action, which is get started today, call us. So I'm just going to do CTA. It doesn't appear we don't need any containers in this thing because it's just these things, block level elements that can just be vertically centered. So one of them is going to be this big graphic, image slash images slash no. Oh, okay, what is it called? Do I even have it? I don't even have it. We're going to export as a PNG. These are my website tutorial folders. So I'm going to cover web and replace images. Oh, it's under building. Got it. Oh, there it is. Oh, silly me. Building. All right. Already hidden equals true. Loading equals lazy. I think that's all we need to do for that. So then we gotta go to, so we got this. So I need to make this a separate div so I can have a background to it. Yeah, I gotta dot city. That's gonna, this is gonna have the background with these two guys in it. So it's gonna have our H2 marketplace is the game, and then we're gonna do a span because we want to drop it. ROI is the game. Oh no, name. Okay, marketplace is name, blah 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 blah, and then we do our A tag with our class button solid. And what is this? Get started today. Did I forget to add? Yeah, I did. Where else did I? I have some A's that I didn't. Button solid. I don't know what button solid is. A button solid. A button solid. Okay, we're good. So now we're at the footer. And this one's going to be difficult. So let's just get rid of all this because we're not obviously using it because it's custom. So you'll notice how things are stacked different. So my designer put together this mobile of this. So now I got to, let me just make this full screen because I really got to take this in. See if I can move this. I want to move you. Come on. All right, so if I do this, there you go. Okay. So these two are going to be in their own block, right? I think. Because normally, I mean, looking at this, to make this practically for desktop, this and this would be in their own div, and then these guys would be in their own div, and then these guys would be in their own div. However, that is not how this is made, because it goes from here, and then these guys, and then these are like really all, these are all mixed up here. I'm just trying to think how I could do this. So it looks like so these are together. I would put these together in I'd probably make this a list, right? Why do you do this to me? So how do I structure the HTML so that I can go from this to this with ease? That is the tricky part. So obviously we know these two guys have to stay together. Okay. And then we got these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's how they'll be stacked. But this contact button moves over here. Okay. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to create, okay, so this is going to be one div, and then this entire thing is going to be a div. And I'm going to flexbox this shit and use the order property. So each individual element, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This whole thing is 6. This whole thing is 7. This whole thing is 8. I think I'm going to, because I can order this. So if I do, display flex wrap in a row, and just play with some margins, I can set this order to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll set this to be order 5, so it appears here. And this will be order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here, and this will be 8. And just hopefully that goes up there. And if that doesn't, then I can just make it 8. Because if this is the last element of this section and it happens to be down here, maybe I can just absolutely position it, which I don't want to do, and move it over, and then this, and then this. So this is this is quite the challenge. So let's do it. Right away, we got okay, footer logo, cool. All right, number 1, we need a container for all this nonsense. Okay, and starting from the top, these two guys. So we got our logo group, and we're going to have our A tag that goes back to home. Okay, and that's going to be an image / images footer logo. This is going to be Aria hidden equals true. Loading lazy, and Aria Label. It's going to be back to home page. Or let's just say Park Place logo. Click to go back to home page, because it's also describing what this image is. So it's the Park Place logo. Click to go back to home page. Cool. Got this. Let's add our P. That's good. Now to this flex ridiculousness. So let's do a container of ridiculous. Yeah. Class of ridiculous. Actually, is it ridiculous? Ridiculous. Okay, ridiculous. Right? All right, I guess that's right. So ridiculous. We're gonna do. They're all gonna be A's. So A tag. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for contact, which is going to be class equals button solid. Okay, so let's get this. This is me home. About team FAQ. Let's be contact. Okay, and now we got a group here. So we're going to have a UL, LI. I'm going to do virtual host. Let's just copy these a couple times. Full host. Executive rentals. And more services with a plus. So I did a UL because I want these to act as a group together, and it's one of the best ways to kind of structure related content and be able to move them around and manipulate them. So we just make it into its own UL, and I think, well, we also need the services too. So I think I can put this in here. I'll make this a link, just in case we need it. Services plus. Okay, I'm going to copy this. Do it again. There's going to be cities. And Toronto, Miami. Phoenix. Okay. Okay, so we got that, and then we got our social. And I'm just going to export these things. Okay, so Facebook. Give it to me in SVG. Save as. Parkplace. Okay, Facebook. Whoops. Oh, I saved it as a JPEG or PNG. SVG. SVG. Almost done here. I'm sure this is the most exciting part of this video, is watching me do this nonsense. YouTube. Okay, we got those done, so now we got to do our A's. Our image slash images. I'm going to do Facebook. Right, and we're going to do Aria hidden equals true. Aria label equals Facebook. And the reason we're doing this, instead of just doing an alt on this, is we don't want the screen readers to have to go too deep into nesting to find information. If it could just land on the outermost element and just know what everything else has to do with, I think that's a better user experience. So that's why I hide my images inside links and just add an Aria label to the link, because that's one less step for the screen reader to have to go down. I want to make the content as easily accessible as possible with minimal amount of steps for the screen reader to find the content. So we're going to do that, and then obviously our loading equals lazy. Okay, so now we're just going to copy this 4 times. And it's going to be Facebook, Instagram, no, this is Instagram. All right, this is LinkedIn, and this is YouTube. Okay, and then our images is going to be, this is going to be LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. Cool, that's saved. And now we just got to do, so our line is just going to be, I'm just going to make a pseudo element to use however I see fit. So let's do this credit. So our ridiculousness, let's just close this so that I can better see what I'm working with here. So this is one group, which is this. Now I need to make another group for credit. Copy this. Let's just do a span. Fireplace properties, all rights reserved, defined by copy a tag. Kokawa, copy a tag, OHWD. Okay. And that's it. And that's it. Actually, I don't even need this credit. I could just remove that span. I can remove this. I could just have this span living as a block level element and make this line a pseudo element to this block level that takes up this whole space. That's text align left, so it pushes to the left with the pseudo element. Yep, that's the easiest way to make that. So hot dang. Let me just make sure I undo everything I did, because this thing has to come back down. Otherwise, it's not going to be pretty. There we go. Okay, so that is the HTML on how to make this. So, not too bad, right? The hard part is the hard part will come. So, this is going to be an interesting one. But yeah, so the HTML is usually the fastest part. Just a quick overview. You just want to keep everything contained in your individual sections, and then if needed, add your container to contain all your content, and then add additional containers if that content needs to be grouped. So it's just about making as few divs, as few clutter as possible to make this just really, really clean. Oh, here we go. Look what I forgot to do. Loading equals lazy. And then, yeah, because we're doing the Aria labels, we're going to decide what to do with that later. So let's copy this with the space. So I'm just going to click here, paste, 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 paste. Cool. Yeah, because my goal with all new websites is I need to have at least a 97 out of 100 page speed score for mobile and 100 on desktop. So those are the numbers I'm going for these days. And I think this is all we need to do. This should be a good one to crank out and see what we can do here. So the next video will be mobile CSS. So we'll do all of the mobile styles for this site, and then from there we'll go to tablet and desktop and wrap it all up from there. So thanks for watching. The HTML is usually the most boring part, but setting up the structure of your website is probably the most vital part of your job, and just understanding on a very fundamental level of how the CSS will be moving your elements around, how they will stack naturally within the DOM order, which is where they're at in the code. So it's not just about absolutely positioning things everywhere. It's the easiest thing to do, just absolutely position them. You don't want to do that. Your goal is to have them position themselves relative to their position in the code. So like you want to make it as simple as possible without having to move things as much. So that's part of the challenge of doing this, is just trying to create the HTML in a way that can transfer from mobile to desktop with as little work as possible. Because the less manipulating you have to do in the CSS to make things happen, obviously the faster your website can load, because it's not having to make all these calculations and place things by the pixel and move things, transform this X amount of position from its X coordinate and Y, and just let the website, let it position itself. And that's less work that the browser has to do, and that's just more efficient your website is. So yeah, the HTML is very important, and I hope this at least helps open your eyes to think like a developer, think through your code and reason through it, and think of why you need to place these in what order in your HTML. So hopefully this helped you with that. And before I talk for another hour, let's wrap this up and get on to mobile. So thanks for watching, and let's see how the next videos go.